And by the way, our educational page on our website is also open to the public. You do not have to be behind online banking credentials. We're putting it out there for anybody who would like it. Mm-hmm. And it's across the different, again, the financial lifespan. There's a whole section on preparing to buy a home. There's a section on preparing for college costs. Those, it's the different topics that are personal finance.
We are looking forward our way. We're in Studio C in the 511 studios. This is Brett, and Carol is with me again today. How are you?
I'm good, Brett. Thank you. How are you today?
You're doing good.
I'm doing well and really excited with our program today, providing our audience with solid information and resources to help build their path to financial stability and growth. Today, let me welcome our wonderful guests from BMI Federal Credit Union. Sarah Borland is the Vice President of Business and Community Development for BMI, and also with us is Nancy Sullivan-Graff, who is their Financial Education Manager. So thank you both for joining us.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Thank you.
Well, Sarah, let's first discuss the differences between credit unions and other financial institutions. It's always pros and cons. We're here basically with this episode to make sure you shop. Know where you're, banking,
right.
And you got to make decisions on where to park your money. Provide the listeners with some advantages of working with a credit union.
Sure, absolutely, Brett. Well, I think that it's important that credit unions are viewed as a sound financial institution, just like banks are. We're just different in some ways. And, main way we're different is that we're not-for-profit financial cooperatives. We're still federally insured. We're insured by an entity, the NCUA. We have member owners. So they're not called clients. They're not called customers. They're called members because they own us. They own the financial cooperative. We generally have lower rates on loans. We have higher yield on savings products because we don't have shareholders to pay. We have, typically lower fees. We like to focus a lot on providing personal service at credit unions. So making sure that we are giving, since they are members, they are getting the personal attention they deserve and that they are getting that one-on-one care that's unique to their situation. But I think the most important thing that is important, no matter your financial institution, is just to make sure that you are have that financial stability and that you have that guidance and you feel like you have that support no matter who you're with, who you're banking with. Banking's a verb. So you can choose a credit union. We believe very strongly in what credit unions can provide and the credit union difference. But the important thing is just that you trust your financial institution. You have an open line of communication with them. You feel like you can come to them when you have an issue, or even when you don't. Just have an ability to talk to them about what is going on in your life, and that at BMI, we just feel like if you reach out to us and you talk to us, that we'll listen and we will work with you depending on whatever your needs are.
Yeah, I know over the years the eligibility has kind of changed a lot, hasn't it? In regards to, it used to be only available if you worked at a certain business and such, or lived in a certain area. Now that a lot of changes for eligibility too.
Yeah, credit unions were originally started by the employees of the companies that they worked at to help their fellow employees and to lend them money as a ability to provide credit to them, lines of credit. So we were started by Battelle Memorial Institute in 1936. So scientists lending to other scientists, and we grew substantially over the years, and then around the 2000s we started growing by merging in other credit unions. So not just serving Battelle employees, but we started serving Worthington Industries and merged their credit union in, and then Schottenstein's credit union, and so we grew that way, but still focused strictly on employer groups. So we were serving just the employees of specific organizations. Then around 2010, we decided, we want to grow. We want to make sure that we're providing our members as much opportunity as we can to serve them and serve the community. That's the trouble with being not open to the public and only serving employees is that no one can walk in off the streets and join the credit union, and we wanted to be able to serve people who needed us where they needed us and in the communities and in those neighborhoods. So it is something that is unique to credit unions where we are chartered. So we were originally chartered to serve specific select employer groups. And we changed our charter, which most credit unions have these days, to a community charter. So we specifically serve anyone who lives, works, worships, or attends school in Franklin or the 7 surrounding counties here in Central Ohio. And then we also there's a separate way that you can join, which is through family. So if you're a member, then anyone that is your immediate family, even if they do not live in Central Ohio, can join the credit union. So that's the 2 ways that you have the eligibility to join BMI specifically. And every credit union is chartered differently. So it's important that if you are looking at joining a credit union, you look at their eligibility requirements and make sure that they are in line with where you are and what you're able to do. There are still credit unions out there that only serve select employer groups or serve select areas of business. There's ones that just serve the transportation industry. There's, so there are specific, but typically, when you do your research, and that's what we strongly encourage you do your research and you ask your friends, ask your family, who they work with, who they trust, and that's the best way to get, put in line with, I think, the right financial institution for you.
Right.
Credit unions in Central Ohio have had a good history here. Mm-hmm. My parents both belonged to credit unions that were connected with their companies, but I always thought of credit unions as really being cutting edge. Back in the 70s, a good friend of mine who was single, lived with her sister who was single, were trying to buy a house, and no bank would lend them money as 2 single women. And both of them were, one was in a school system, a librarian in a school system. The other worked for the federal government. Mm-hmm. Well, she was very upset with the banks, went to her credit union manager, told him what happened, and he said, no problem. They got their home loan through the credit union. And she told him, she goes, I will never deal with those other institutions. So the credit unions have really been strong here. And you're basically getting real bang for your buck.
Right. Yeah. And I think that, going back to what I had said, that, we really do want to hear your story. Like we don't just put numbers into a computer and it spits out, yes, you can have a loan. No, you can't. We, talk to them about, of course we have algorithms and we have processes and, what responsible financial institution wouldn't have that. But we also want to hear, we want to understand how long they've been employed. We want to hear about, outside factors. And we take all of that into consideration when we work with someone on making sure that they're making the best decision for them. We don't want to put them in a high-risk situation either and make sure that they're able to pay it back a loan. But we also want to grant people that opportunity and make sure that we are listening to them and understanding their situation and giving them opportunities that maybe another financial institution wouldn't give them based on just a set of numbers.
Right. Very good. Yeah. So going forward now with our new financial situations given the pandemic, many Americans are facing really terrible situations compared to the great economy we had before the pandemic. So it's got to have impacted your members quite a bit. So what is BMI specifically doing to help members during this time?
Well, yes, the pandemic has brought, big changes for our members, our economy, our community, and it's impacted how we interact with them and how we help them manage their money until fairly soon after the government, or they came in and closed restaurants, and we started changing what you were able to do and things like that. A lot of I know BMI, a lot of our staff was sent remote, and we were working from home, and then our lobbies were shut down and by appointment only. So you had to call in, schedule an appointment to be able to come in. We just reopened lobbies on November 2nd of this year. So, so we went in and just decided it was primarily drive-through only. But the important thing that you have to do when you make a significant change like that, that it really impacts members. And if they're used to walking in, being able to just walk in and say, and getting that personal attention and that personal care, to make that shift is hard, and to help people, understand that their money is still safe. We're still wanting to, we're just trying to protect them in other ways now too. And so we decided to make a strong focus on educating, on telling them different ways, pushing them toward helping them get set up for mobile banking. I know we're scheduling a lot of appointments in the branches, which we never really had done before, to if they had questions on getting set up on mobile or online banking, helping them understand, because we have a very high-tech system. Our online banking is fairly intuitive, and once you get in it, it's fairly easy to understand, and it does really cool things. And I think that once we were able to get people signed up and walk them through the look of the website and the mobile version, they could see that they could do a lot of these things themselves and save them the trip out to the credit union, which we love to see their faces, but in this environment, it just wasn't safe. And, we just felt like that was the best way to protect them. And then obviously still have the drive-thrus open. So we would, encourage them to come through the drive-thru, and we could still provide them that one-on-one service, just in a social distancing, safe manner. We would push them, we've got our on-site call center. So we have an on-site contact center where they are there to help. You are calling in. It is right outside Nancy and I's office, inside the building, and they are there to help during business hours and take calls. You're not talking to a robot or a machine. You are not having to go through all these hoops to get to a person. So we had, people online on standby, ready to help and guide people through when they needed it. And I think that was an important way to assist members in transitioning to not having that same one-on-one attention in branch that they were used to having. We have a program called Call 24, where you could call into an automated system and get your basic banking needs in an automated way. And so that was a way to help them then after hours. But of course, then next day, if you want to call in and talk to a human, we were there for you. And so just, making sure we were focusing on supporting them through knowledge, but also just protecting them from a safety and health perspective.
I think the hardest part for all of us during the shutdown in March was the suddenness of it.
Yes.
And it affected us individually and personally, but to then pivot large organizations it's incredible what our companies here in Central Ohio have been able to do. It's amazing.
We went from 0 people working remotely, 0 in the credit union, and there's about 100 employees that work at our credit union, to all accounting, business development, marketing, all the people in the departments in our corporate office remote. Within a matter, I remember that my team coming into my office and saying, okay, guys, if you're able to, work remotely here, here's some, we're going to try to get these things in place, to almost the next day saying, fast. Okay, you guys can't come back.
Yeah. Here's a laptop.
Here's a
get
laptop.
Out of here.
I might not see you for a few months. It was, like you said, just so sudden how quickly things escalated from that perspective. And once, the governor would make announcements that would just continue to escalate things just in such a short time span, it really definitely caused us to have to pivot to a online, and Nancy can speak to her having to pivot to, from a financial education perspective, serving all of the members that she serves virtually, the other business development members they can't go on site on employer groups anymore. You
Right.
used to go on
Because
site.
they don't have anybody
Because they don't
there
have
either.
anybody
Right.
there. Exactly.
Oh my gosh,
So there's no
yes.
employees to go on site to serve. Our employees aren't there. It just shifts your focus and it shifts how you can serve people. But we still, I think, our organization, and I think organizations across the board, were forced to pivot very quickly and have done their best to adapt, and maybe some better than others. But I think that overall, financial institutions, thankfully, have been are a necessary service, and so we have been able to continue to serve members and customers at banks, without interruption to service.
Wonderful.
Yeah. How have you, as a culture, this is a little bit off of questions, but it's come to mind, as a culture inside, now you're all remote, kept that BMI culture going remotely? Has that been difficult?
Well, I mean, we're used to seeing each other's faces every day.
Right.
And so, I mean, difficult in the way that we, especially I can speak to my department, we go into each other's office and talk about things, and you just pop over and I'm used to a lot of traffic in my office, but they come and share what happened that day, the call they just had. And so, yeah, I know that I'm probably swaying it off topic too, but it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to not see their faces. It's hard. I love that I get to see Nancy right now. It's hard to not be able to have that interaction without it being forced. The phone, having to set up a Zoom meeting or have them text me like, do you have a minute to talk, rather than just swinging by. And I know that, we probably we have employees still on site, and our senior team, our CEO, goes in every day, and he said it feels like a Saturday in here every day because it's so quiet. And he's like, I'm just used to seeing people. So, I mean, I think that it's presented challenges. I think that, there's always communication challenges when you aren't face to face with people. But again, you just making the best of it and keeping in mind that this is what the most safe environment is for our staff and for each other, and just adapting and doing the best we can.
Right. And that's the answer I was looking for, basically, is that, every company, especially those that are a necessary company, trying to do the best they can to serve their customers. So
Yes. And we are all way too impatient with each other.
Right,
and I'm
right.
hoping that maybe that's backed off a little bit. I don't know.
We'll
but
see.
hopefully, yes, it's really sad when going to the grocery store is your social contact for the week.
I know.
And I think BMI has also, we always have our members' safety in mind, but they've also, as an employee, been very good about, as an employee, they've been very assertive that they want us to be safe too.
Right.
And really made a fast pivot to getting us equipped properly to work at home, get procedures in place.
Right.
And that was really nice made me really happy to work there, because I felt like they were trying very hard to keep the entire team safe, and prided themselves on how healthy our employees have remained
good.
since March.
That's right.
Yeah.
Put a lot of energy into it.
Good.
Wonderful.
Well, Sarah, are there any particular services or programs that are available to Central Ohioans to help them in that life transition, college education, marriage, home purchases, in course, retirement?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think, Brett, no matter where you are in life, we've got members across all ages. So we've got the people that are very proud of their 3-4 digit account numbers that still the founders. They still call in, and they're very proud of the fact that and I think it's amazing. I mean, that they that is a sense of pride for them. How cool that that is something that they call in, and that is, they think that's as cool as we do, is that they have been with the credit union so long, and that they have stuck with us, and they've had their kids join, and they have grandkid accounts. And I mean, that they have just been lifelong BMI. And we get people that come in all the time or work at different employer groups that we partner with. And they're like, yeah, I've been a member at BMI since my grandfather worked at Battelle. I mean, they tell you. And
Isn't that amazing?
It is. It's very cool, that sense of pride. But we have lots of members that have joined, from, being in community now that since we've changed about a decade ago, but it's important, I think, through all of life's transitions, as I said, just to make sure you have sound ethical advice and just to make sure that you have that resource. And BMI feels like we can be that resource to provide them that information, to not push a product, to make sure that when you're speaking to either your credit union, your bank, that when you have a need, that they talk to you about that need and that they don't talk to you, push you in other directions. And I think that being cognizant of that and listening to what they're saying and understanding that, they have your best interest in mind. That's just such an important thing to recognize and something that I feel very comfortable with how we communicate with our members. So that's why I think I feel so strongly about how BMI serves its member base is because I know that that's our approach. And I think just having that resource and then just knowing that we've been around for as long as we have and that we have that history with people, I think that we've been able to establish that we will be there through their college, through marriage, purchasing their home.
And they're not jumping out at a certain point in their life.
Right.
That, okay, I don't need this service anymore as a bulk. I'm going to move on.
There is never a point in your life where you really don't need a financial institution, unless you go off the grid. You are going to need sound and ethical financial advice at all times. So.
To our listeners who may or may not be in Central Ohio, these are all important issues for you to also wrestle with in your community. Whatever institution you use, whether it's the traditional banking group or really looking at what else is out there for you, there are credit unions in every community. BMI is a federal credit union. You are backed by federal government, just like any other institution. And so those are the kinds of things that we want to make sure our audience think about as they're listening. We're not just talking really about Central Ohio. We're talking about wherever you are at this moment in need of financial assistance. Right. So look around in your community. And we'll put lots of information on our show notes. So any resources that either of you have, we can also add in along with contact information for BMI. So it's wonderful.
And there's also, just to make note, you mentioned that, we are a federally chartered credit union. There are also, not to get in the weeds too much, but there are also state chartered credit unions. So a majority of the larger credit unions actually in most states are state chartered. So they are funded through different funds. They're still insured. They still provide the same services. They are just, again, there's federally chartered credit unions and state chartered. So, they just are kind of how they function is a little different and just how they do things. Mm-hmm. But in general, they all operate the same way and their service areas can be a little different. So, again, when it boils down to it, a credit union is a credit union, and we're all not-for-profit financial cooperatives that serve members and provide great benefits and services. So
that's good to clarify that. That's good.
Right.
You bet.
Well, I was sort of thinking and didn't actually say it out loud, but there are a lot of folks who are jumping on the internet and finding little places to put money. And there's nothing wrong with that as long as you've done your homework and really checked and made sure that when you send money to this online institution that it actually exists and you're not throwing your money away. So, and in terms of also our audience, BMI and the other credit unions have that cooperative online banking system, the ATM system Nancy always told me about.
The shared branch.
And so, those are the kinds of things you want to, check into and make sure that you're on the right track. So good. So speaking of right track, let's go ahead and keep moving on here. BMI has an incredible financial education program, and it has actually bloomed over the past few years, at least all my time with Nancy and in our previous lives, or my previous life and nonprofit work. And so I really got to know and understand what you were trying to do. And it concentrates on budgeting, saving, and financing dreams, which I love that idea. Homes and cars are financial dreams. My home, when the pandemic started, turned out to be a money pit, doing all the things I hadn't done for years that I'm home watching and looking at now. So we do need to continue to finance those dreams. But Nancy, let's go ahead and do an overview of the educational program and how do you suggest that a member begin? And let's go through all those topics.
Okay. Well, first off, we do have a formal financial education program at this time, and there's 3 pieces to it. But before I jump into that, I want to also mention that as a credit union, we've always been about financial education for our members. Before we had official financial coaches and personal finance workshops and webinars, our branch managers would go out to our companies and help the employees learn about credit and those type of things. We just really formalized it. I think it was about 2013. And what we've evolved to now, we have 3 parts of our program. We do a lot of workshops, which are now, we made an instant pivot from workshops to webinars with the pandemic, but on different personal finance topics. Anywhere from budgeting to how to manage your debt to understanding how your credit score works, and let me see what else we have. The home buying, preparing to buy a home.
Right.
Really, their education in the area of personal finance for our members. And now, actually, those are also open to the community now. When we community chartered in 2012, we opened up. That led us to want to open up our educational efforts when we formalize them to our companies, our current members, as well as community. So a lot of it is open to everyone.
So really helping people through their transitions.
Right, and really wherever they're at is where, there's different stages in a financial lifetime. And so we're trying to support our members that are looking for support with the education they need to make the decisions that work for them. So we do a lot of webinars now. That we're using the Zoom platform right now, and that was fun. It was a little bit of a transition for me because our tagline at BMI Federal Credit Union is "We make banking personal." So we've always prided ourselves on when you come into our branches, you see our members face to face. You're not looking at a screen. When we do workshops, we're going out to our companies in person. We're bringing them into our member meeting room. So we're still making it personal, but now a lot of times it's through a screen when it's our webinars.
So is this the time to tell her, Sarah, that she's going to have a cardboard stand-up and send out to people?
Yes.
Hey, while I'm here, just look at me. I'm a stand-up.
And it's been interesting for Nancy just to her credit, back when all of this started, people still, when on a Zoom, still had their little picture, people still made an effort to have their faces on the Zoom. Now everyone puts their screen black and doesn't show. So she's just to go from speaking to in front of people and seeing reactions, reading people's faces, seeing that they're understanding the content, to seeing blank screens and just basically, hey, everybody out there, did I go, can you still hear me?
Are you taking a nap?
Right. And I mean, hats off to her for being able to, make that transition, because what a challenge to be able to speak, in front of people, to have to go to not, being able to have that interaction with people.
Right.
And, that I'm sure has been a challenge.
Because I do enjoy the feedback that you from looking at folks. But we are still coming up with ways to connect even through the computer screen, and there's different tricks with Zoom with annotate and chat. So we like to think we're getting better all the time, and we're adding those in to make sure we are connecting with the folks that are out there listening to us. It's a different experience for our members too.
Right.
So those are a big part of our educational program, our workshops / webinars. We also have 2 other pieces that I think are equally important, and again speak to us trying to meet our members wherever they're at. We have a pretty extensive online learning center on our website, and we curate that content. We have different kind of there's learning modules, there's articles to read, there's a lot of tools like calculators for debt payoff or calculating how much mortgage you can afford. and we just added. We've added to that since the pandemic, and we're hoping to make it sort of easier to get to. And we've absolutely seen an increase in the member traffic. And by the way, our educational page on our website is also open to the public. You do not have to be behind online banking credentials. We're putting it out there for anybody who would like it. Mm-hmm. And it's across the different, again, the financial lifespan. There's a whole section on preparing to buy a home. There's a section on preparing for college costs. Those, it's the different topics that are personal finance. And we also have our financial coaching program at the credit union. And we offer our members and the folks who are employees at our partner employers. We still work with about 300 employers, I think, in Central Ohio. Financial coaching. Now, the pivot with the pandemic was we were doing that before. Pre-pandemic, we did that. That was all face-to-face. And I do the majority of it. I'm not the only coach at the credit union. We actually have several have taken the credential. But I do the majority of it. I was going to all the branches. Again, we want to meet our members where it's at. We want to make it easy to be a member and easy for you to move forward financially. So I would schedule at all the branches we had in Central Ohio. We have 5. So the pandemic, we immediately shifted to phone scheduling over the phone, and I really was not sure how that was going to go, but it's working very well. Most people were we're fine with having a phone conversation and follow a phone calls, and so we have a way to schedule phone appointments now on our website. You used to pick the branch you wanted to meet at. Now the only choice is schedule a phone call.
Nice.
And we hope when things turn around, we hope to get back to face-to-face. But a benefit of the phone system is we can serve more members.
Right.
Because we're not driving around all day to different branches. I'm at home. I can have more people on the schedule.
Right. And things always come up, and you drive to a branch and then the person, for whatever reason, can't be there, then you've wasted a good portion of your day.
That happens too. And the coaching, again, it's everything we do is member driven. So the member pick they choose what they want to work on. And the drop down on our choice, I think that was later. We have like the most popular topics, I think that would help if people knew, are like budgeting and saving, managing debt,
right.
Home buying. Like it's typically a first-time home buyer who doesn't really understand how mortgages work.
Right.
We have our mortgage department does a lot of this also. But if it's someone really just getting started and they maybe need a little extra time, more education on the different types of mortgages, how you prepare to get qualified for a mortgage, we have a lot of back and forth with the mortgage folks at BMI. And then a lot of folks are very interested in their credit reports and credit score review, particularly when we first started. It was very popular. And that was when really the general public was much more aware of credit because of the apps that were coming out. And there was more like publicity on your credit score. So we do quite a bit of folks just want to come in and maybe do a little deeper dive on their credit report. Or, again, we work with our other departments. If a member is denied for a loan, we like to say not yet instead of no. And we provide the member with the opportunity to come through our coaching program to do a little deeper dive on what is it that we're seeing that is causing a denial and what steps we can help them, if they would like, come up with really a detailed plan on tips to get where they need to be.
Right, because it could be something really small that wouldn't take very much for them to fix.
Yeah, there's a lot of credit report review, credit recovery, or even just establishing credit for younger members who maybe they don't have any loans that are reporting. So a lot of education around credit and improvement in building or establishing credit. And then we also have a section for student loan repayment education.
Oh, my gosh.
And that evolved, again, that wasn't originally on the menu, but because of our work with so many of our members, like, population in general, have a lot of student loans, and there's a lot of...
and parents having difficulty because they've signed on those loans.
And there's, especially the federal loans, there's multiple different type of repayment plans now, and navigating those waters is somewhat overwhelming. And so we also can support members. We don't do it for them, but I'll have members come in and help them make that, we'll support them in the coaching office before pre-pandemic, where we would make that call to the student loan servicer and help coach them on what to ask for and how you educate yourself before you make that call on different type of programs that are available. We actually have a webinar on it now too, because thanks to my own situation with myself with student loans, some of my children and their student loans, and working with members on student loans, I have a lot of knowledge about student loans.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, maybe fortunately, but that is also one of the topics that we deal with a lot in our financial coaching program. So it's a 3-part program. It is the coaching one-on-one, the free webinars, or that used to be workshops that are webinars now, and then the online learning center. And you can find all of this stuff on our website. And people have different styles. Some people just really like a one-on-one conversation. And other folks like more the, let me just work at my own pace. Mm-hmm. So we're trying to kind of meet people wherever they're at. Okay.
Let me go back and the financial fitness self-assessment, is that still an opportunity for folks to get started, more just like ask a question and then all of a sudden they realize it's an issue?
I loved that you found that. That's available on our website. We developed that piece in-house, and we came up with a list of 10 things that are connected to financial fitness. And you can do it yourself, and we also have a workshop on it too. But we wanted to design it if someone just wanted to do it themselves. And that kind of evolved out of when we first started the coaching program, so much focus on credit.
Right.
And then you're in this a while, and I felt that some people, that what we were missing with some of the members was your credit score is not really the best indicator of if you're financially stable or your financial fitness.
Oh, exactly.
It's absolutely one. It is important, but it's not the most important.
Right.
And we were having some situations, we're member driven, so if a member came in and wanted to work on credit, we would be absolutely, that's what we're going to do. And then maybe we would be doing a budget to find some funds to maybe pay off an old debt or something. And we'd be doing the budget, and it would be revealed that they didn't have car insurance, or that there were like other pieces that were missing, and also the members would get to trust the coach and maybe would reveal like they hadn't filed their taxes in a few years. Now, none of this is insurmountable. But that's kind of where the financial fitness self-assessment evolved out of, is let's make sure we're not missing anything that's important. Mm-hmm. And even if we are, and it's also, we can't work on 10 things at the same time, but at least now we have this list, and we can help us prioritize what you want to work on. The member tells us what they want to work on, but typically a member might come in and say, I want to work on this. And if we do use the assessment, we say, is that still what you want the focus to be? Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't.
Well, and you're going to be able to give them the advice of, well, yes, this is important, but if we fix this, that's going to be easier to fix.
Exactly. And like in the case with the automobile insurance, I remember the member that made me add that we have to add that you are carrying proper insurance for your stage in life. That is one of the 10 on our financial fitness self-assessment. That it wasn't really telling him what to do, but it was educating him that by lapsing in that area, there's some risk to your financial stability.
Right.
You can be sued, you can lose your assets, those kind of things, and letting him choose. And like, we are not an insurance agency, but we do more like member support with like consumer education, where we helped him compare 3 different policies. And maybe we want to like wait on the credit stuff, and let's get you help you find an affordable policy, like consumer education. Call around.
Right.
But again, always member driven. But the assessment has 10 items that we view as important to financial fitness. And again, these are the basics. It's like that you're able to pay your loans and bills on time, that you do understand your credit score and how to keep it strong or improve it, that you are properly insured, that you are saving for your future /retirement, that you are saving, that you have an emergency fund. It's got those type of items on it.
Well, and I think it goes back to the same issue that we always talked about in job seeking. You don't know what you don't know. Right. And this kind of a checklist is going to give somebody an opportunity to really understand where they are. Because if they didn't learn as a child about saving, right, how do you learn? You have to learn at some point in time. So that's kind of why I was really sort of pinpointing that, and we'll include that information too in the show notes, because I think it's for somebody who has not had a good experience in their financing, and or possibly young, not really at that point of where they even have a checking account, this is a great place for them to get that information.
I'm glad you brought that up because we're really proud of that piece. We developed that in-house. We absolutely scoured the world for an assessment tool. There's other pieces that are out there, but we wanted ours we know our members
right.
at the Federal Credit Union, and we know we're real focused on our members, and we wanted a piece that worked for us. So we did that, and that's an in-house piece from BMI.
Well, just like the calculators that you mentioned were on the system. A lot of times, if you go in and you check at Money Magazine or one of those others, you can look at all those kinds of lists or calculators or information, and then suddenly you're getting bombarded with just buy this and buy that and do this and do that. This way, not only are they getting good, sound financial information, but it's not going anywhere. They're working with you in directly one-on-one.
And if people are feeling financial stress, it sort of helps slow it down, simplify it. Let's get things in priority order for you, and can help navigate all that. Because when people are stressed financially, there's actually some research on the brain processes you don't calculate as well. It's harder to listen, and it kind of helps settle that down and focus on what the most important thing is. And again, on the form, it says, what is your, I think the question is after the checklist, it says, what is your biggest concern at this time? And, I'm worried about anything that they check, the 3, 4, or 5 on, but anything that's checked a 5 for sure. But again, the member, I say, what are you losing sleep over? What do you want to focus on first?
Right.
So.
And I think that it does lead to, like you just said, leads to good questions, because sometimes it makes them process, am I able to pay my bills every month? Well, then that might help you lead down the road. Well, if they are self-aware enough to say, the somewhat option, like in the middle, maybe that's an opportunity for you to sit down with them and look at their bank statement and see where they're spending their money. And it helps give some focus to if they're aware that maybe there's some spending habits happening that they can change, that it can help, and that's because that's what it kind of can boil down to. It always boils down to saving and manage that's how everything that trickles back to, Nancy and I talk about is saving and how you spend, save and spend.
And budgeting.
Everything's budgeting.
Budgeting, absolutely. And I think one of the things that's happened in our world of everything pops here and there and constantly changing, and is that folks don't look at the paperwork, whether it's hard copy or online, but the details of financing. So as you said, if they're going and buying a $7 cup of coffee every day, that's an issue.
Yeah.
And you don't even realize it because the habit is there.
And I have mixed feelings about that, because sometimes, particularly the younger members, will come in and go, oh, you're going to tell me I can't get my coffee every day. And I'm like, absolutely not. If that's a priority for you, but we just need to make sure it's in the budget.
Exactly.
And when we say it's in the plan, that means that you're going to love spending that $7 for your coffee, because you're going to be so happy because you've done your spend. We talk about budgets as plans, spending and saving plans, because you know that you're going to be able to pay all your bills. You're saving some in your emergency fund. You're participating in your retirement plan at work, and you go spend that money and have fun because you've met the need, your plan.
Right.
But and also there is the coaching program being embedded in the credit union is really a special feature about it, because I think we save a lot of time, because as Sarah said, your transaction history can reflect your priorities. That's kind of a blunt way of saying that. And what a lot of times people come into the coaching program because their priorities have changed, and they're trying to get their spending and their saving to make that shift to their new priorities. Like they want to go into their marriage debt free. A baby's on the way. They're thinking about maybe being able to go part-time or back a little bit out of the formal workforce. So their priorities have changed, and they're trying to adjust their spending and saving habits to meet their priorities. We do quite a bit of that from the big picture. But having if a member is a debit card user, has their checking account with us, and we also have a Visa credit card, we've got all your transactions. If that's what you're mostly using, I have had members, I say, well, let's take a look. What do you think you're spending on restaurants? And we have an online budgeting tool called My Finance Tool that's free for our members. And this particular young lady was quite savvy and fast on the keyboard. So we were able to put in, and it pulls all your transactions out. And I go, what do you think you spent in the last month? And she goes, well, she guessed. And then we pulled them out, and we pulled out what My Finance Tool indicated her Visa and her Visa debit card had used, and it was like 3 times what she
wow.
thought. It was very eye-opening. That doesn't always happen, and the pandemic has helped many members really cut back on their eating out.
True.
So, I mean, there's a silver lining, I think, in this. So
I don't know, though. I spent a lot more at the grocery store.
Right, but you just couldn't eat out for a while.
Right.
So now that the delivery services are back, we're seeing a lot of that. But so it's having the coaching embedded in the credit union, I think, saves a lot of time. Particularly with our full members that have their direct deposit with us and perhaps might have an IRA with us, or their Visa with us, or their car loan, or their home loan. We're a full service financial institution. We really can sort of save some time, and we don't have to say, go fill out this form and put all the interest rates on your loans. We can look them up right there.
Right, right.
So it's very very handy and a good way to support our members.
Do you? I'm kind of pivoting here on my question. From doing this, and particularly when you're starting with a new member, are you finding people who are less finance savvy because they haven't had that training from their parents or the opportunity to be better at their finances? Are you finding folks who don't know what questions to ask because they've never been in this situation?
I guess I would say it's extremely uneven.
Okay.
Like some people might be very, really understand how their car loan works and have really read up on that, but not, like people are very uneven with their personal finance information. I didn't realize how kind of bad it was. So like I would really recommend if you have a high schooler, make them take personal finance. More and more schools are requiring it. My first one got away from me before I realized how important it was. And of course, what's interesting and this is we have a lot of scientific companies too. My oldest was very much all about those AP classes and honors, and she was in like all these bands and super academic type of a kid. So she didn't have room in her schedule for something like a semester of personal finance. And I look back, that was a mistake. So by the time the second and the third one went, I'm like, didn't force my kids to do a lot, but I'm like, you're going to find a semester to take personal finance. What a luxury to have a whole semester to be learning about compounding interest and how credit cards work and how the stock market works. Where else are you going to get a kid's going to get a chance to do that? So many of us didn't have that.
Right.
And had parents that didn't talk about those type of things. I think it's a little bit more open now with the current generations. But I find is people are kind of all over the place. So I'll get the person that comes in that has no idea even what their interest rate is on their car loan. They know their monthly payment, but they don't even know how many months they agreed to with younger members. So we do a lot of education on. I also find even some of our older members forget that you can refinance loans. Do a lot of education on that. And this is swinging back to the whole pandemic. So if you're worried about, if you're going to have an issue with cash flow, we actually did a couple webinars on, if you've been at our COVID-19 webinar, we called it, that you got to look at your cash flow situation. And a lot of people don't realize you can refinance car loans and home loans. And you can say you're not stuck in a high interest loan necessarily. Of course, you have to be approved. I'm not a loan officer,
and there could be a cost to it.
There can be.
That's always a hidden issue.
Oh yes, you not at our credit.
Well, true, very true. Yes, when I see that in the paper this morning with the 2.3 interest rate on 15-year loans, I'm like, okay, how much is that going to cost?
But we'll tell you.
Yeah, we'll tell you.
And our consumer loans, we don't charge application fees, which is something that's changing
huge.
even in our industry. But sometimes folks don't realize, look and see, it might be worth the time to see if you can if you're having income loss from the pandemic, maybe you want to refinance your home or your car, get your payment lowered, push out a little longer, just in case. Actually, I had a colleague in financial coaching at another credit union. That's what him and his wife did. They had like 10 years left on their mortgage, but the wife was concerned that she was going to lose her job. So they refinanced and they took it out 30. Much lower payment, just in case. Now, you can always put extra on the principal. And if you're with an ethical financial institution, we put the extra payment on the principal. So those understanding that those options are available. Again, what's the current problem? How do we solve the problem? And
Right.
can we use our financial products and our financial education to help you get where you want to be, or even, and sometimes it's just removing some anxiety
Right.
from financial
And
situations.
I think people get so anxious they stop asking questions. And I'm notorious for, if the first time I got a home loan, I talked to that loan officer for 6 weeks. I drove that man crazy.
See, if BMI, they would have sent you to me.
Yeah, there you go.
But the mortgage people said, go talk to that lady over there.
But I knew what I was walking into,
Yeah.
because it scares you to no end when you walk in and you start signing all those paperwork and it's just your name and you're like, what am I doing? But I think that's really the message that we're trying to get across today is there's so much out there, so many resources, but you got to ask those questions. You got to get yourself started. So,
Right.
And we're very lucky in Central Ohio. We have a lot of very strong credit unions and good community banks. But the peace of mind of working with an institution that has your interest at heart. That's
Right.
That's like the whole credit union thing.
Right.
So, and that's really important.
All right.
Okay.
We talked a little bit about the one-to-one financial coaching available. Of course, that's been put on hold, but will come back. Of course,
Okay.
It's going to look different. Everything's going to look different outside of the pandemic. But of course, the one-to-one financial coaching is going to be available. But we haven't talked a little bit about, and this stems right to that one-to-one financial is the corporate members and their employees, what goes on. You have that special relationship with corporate members.
We do.
You also provide, I'm not saying anything different to their members, but at the same time, the corporate members are there for a reason. Could you go into that a little bit about what you do with corporate members and their employees?
Okay, well, we call them preferred employers.
Okay.
And those are companies that we partner with to bring the optional benefit of joining the credit union to their employees. And it's typically we work with HR people, often with the benefits manager at a company that wants to make sound and ethical financial services easy for their employees to access. And by that, I mean like a safe place to save, a fair place to borrow, a free way to pay, inconvenient way to pay your bills. And what our employers like, and most do take advantage of, our financial wellness offerings. We provide like lunch. Pre-pandemic, we would go in and do lunch and learns, and we would often even let them survey their employees, and we would help them with the survey on what do you want to learn about. And we would be able to provide those results back. And often it would be home buying. Sometimes it's debt management. Every group is kind of different. And then we could bring that lunch and learn, which now our webinars, I did 8 webinars this week for preferred employers. So they're still taking it. The companies that were able to pivot and that had a lot of workers at home, once things sort of settled down, we're about meeting the needs and solving the problem. Our business development team went out and said, hey, we can help if you guys are, once people figured out how to use Zoom and the other platforms. So we are primarily doing Zoom, but I've been on WebEx, I've been on Teams, I've been on, I think, about 5 different platforms for our webinars, and getting very good response to the employees. So that's how we have made the pivot for the financial education support for the employees. And again, back to that, and we were well set up for this. All our stuff has always been online on our website. You could always join the credit union, which means opening a savings account, apply for a loan. We had all that was in place already. We just it much more utilized now that's the safest way is to stay home and do it at home.
Right.
So we provide the employers with the education as well as
and it makes the benefit. It makes the employer, the HR or the benefits person, it meets that need for them because they're still being looked to by their employees to provide wellness benefits. That was their role in person. Well, for them to be able to count on us to be able to still provide that service and meet that need to provide the financial education portion of their benefits program. Just making sure, like Nancy said, utilizing our business development team and making sure that they're going on site virtually to these employer groups and communicating what we're still able to provide, especially with Nancy and the financial education team's help. And Nancy, she does so much beyond just the workshops and providing those virtual seminars. They have articles that they write. They have newsletters that they send out. They have just little tips that they send out to these employer groups to be able to put on their intranet or put in their newsletters. And those are things that we're starting to put on our website as well to make available to all of the general membership and general population. But really helping to utilize she mentioned all of our online tools. We have little modules that with a partner company that we work with that has. How many modules are there?
Oh, there's over 30.
So 30 modules on different, that are just, couple minute long clips that they can watch and learn just snippets about each of these topics. We've got a partner that provides, if you prefer to read an article on our website, you can go and access articles if you just prefer to read something and not have like the cartooning module. So just different ways to learn. And, we, again, like Nancy said, have just tried to take note of the different ways that people want to get this information and absorb information, and try to work with not only the public and the community, but also these employer groups to meet that need and to make sure they're aware of all of the services that we still have available. And that just because we're in a pandemic right now, we are still here, and we don't, we can do this virtually. We can serve their employees and serve our members without having to be in front of them, and making sure they know that, it's not going to be extra work. We're going to do all the work for you. So just making sure we're constantly sending things out and making information available.
I think we also just really had good timing with the whole wellness movement for companies or corporations that are providing wellness programming for their employees. With a lot of our employees, we were like the last piece of the puzzle. The financial wellness, like we've got the yoga person coming in, and the dietitian coming in, and the smoking cessation, whatever your wellness program has. A lot of we actually did very well with the wellness type of HR person that's looking for financial wellness, because if you kind of peel back the onion of adults being not well, there is some research coming out that a lot of times at the core, the stress is financial stress. And a financially stressed employee is not focused. And we come in and say, we're going to support your employees wherever they're at and help them move forward. And we can bring in these workshops. And that's a free benefit to our company. So we're doing okay. I'd say we're doing busy. We're busy in our financial we refer to as financial wellness program for our companies, for our members in the community. We tend to use more the language of financial education, but it's basically all, pretty much the same stuff.
Right. So BMI is on duty 24/7, I think, at the rate we're going here.
I know. Nancy made the mistake of giving a lot of her one-on-one counseling her cell phone number. Because
no.
That's also about meeting people where they're at, though, because you can get a lot done texting.
Oh yeah.
Like I'll have members will just text me a real quick question, and I'm okay with that. And I do know how to. I've had to learn how to like shut it down at a certain time. But we like to we love seeing our members move forward. It's what we're about, and you can tell I really like what I do, and I like that BMI. It just is a real good match for what we're telling our employers, how we want to support their people and our members and our employees too.
Well, we've sort of touched on my next question here and there through our conversation. Technology has taken a whole new level for all of us in our work world and in our private world. And as you had mentioned earlier, Sarah, folks who never would have thought of doing online banking are now well within it. Are there things that we can make sure that our audience knows that you're doing with the members in that whole issue of using the technology and being able to save money, transfer accounts, pay bills, whatever? Is there anything else out there that BMI is doing in those positive changes in technology to assist members from the perspective of they're having trouble technically doing it? Is there anything else that we haven't covered?
Not that I can think. Okay. I guess my only thing to reiterate would be, if you're feeling frustrated with technology,
right,
call.
Yes.
Contact us. Technology is frustrating. I don't know about you guys, but I am daily frustrated with something going on with something doesn't load or something, I get an email that something, and I can't find a customer service number on Bed Bath & Beyond's website to save my life.
Exactly.
And I just want to find out where my chair is.
Talk to a person.
So but I feel like they've almost buried customer service numbers because they don't want you to call. They want you to use the robot chat, and they want you to, use those type of features that don't take a person. And I guess that's what I love at BMI is that, and I know a lot of, like you said, local credit unions, local banks, they still have that person, that contact, and that they can trust and talk to. And so I would just, again, encourage people to make sure they have a financial institution that they feel like they have a person.
Yes.
And that they have, and knowing that we have an on-site contact center and a actual humans to talk to, because I think that there have been situations where you're just frustrated with, the website, the technology, anything. And rather than just saying, this doesn't work, like I'm frustrated, I know that it can be challenging to call and it's an extra step, but we really want to help people understand the benefits that that this type of service, that having an online, ability to do your own banking, your own financing online, your own budgeting. I mean, the My Finance tool is very cool. It really does. You can tag things. You can split tags
get reminders.
To put it. You get reminders. You get texts like you are at 80% of your budget, and it does really cool things. And, I think that you can utilize those and you can set them up and then just forget about it. Like it automatically does things and tracks things for you. And, I think it's still important to go in and look at your money every day and where your spending is and what money's coming out, and making sure that for security reasons, and keeping an eye on your finances. And not just trusting an automated system to do that, but just feeling comfortable enough to call in and talk to a person, and knowing that you can do that on site as well. That you can just stop in and if you want to sit down with somebody and have them explain it to you. That's my advice. Just make sure you are with a financial institution that you feel like you can talk to a person and that they can guide you when you feel that frustration or when you feel like there's a change that has been, I don't want to say forced on you, but encouraged.
Right.
Nudged. Right.
They got nudged. And, that can be challenging. And so just to make sure you have an open mind and utilize the resources that are available to you that can help guide you.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had several members that are maybe trying to take a run in online banking that used to come in, maybe our more mature members. And I've often told them, get on your tablet or whatever, what do you have? And make sure it's password protected internet, that you're not you're not on public Wi-Fi. And then pick up your phone and call our contact center. And they're going to be talking to our people who are our high-level member service people who they're not scripted. They are problem solvers. And their goal is to solve your problem. And I can't underestimate, we have a really good team in our call center. And they have been very busy with the pandemic and helping members try online banking or do the bill pay. And then kind of once you get going, it becomes better. And our stuff is getting better all the time and more intuitive. So...
and there's not a there's not like a rush to get you off the phone. Like they don't try to rush to get to the next call.
Right.
We encourage our contact center to take their time, explain it to them, work through it. You don't have to get so many calls in an hour, to actually help the person. And so again, just find someone that you feel like you are comfortable when you call in, that they're taking the time to solve your problem and not just like check a box that they said something and then move on.
And they got
to
you
the
off.
next. Yeah.
Right.
I did have a complaint from a member this week, connected, that he had to wait when he called our contact center. And I was like, wow, we try so hard to not make people wait. How long did you have to wait? 5 minutes. And I'm like, well, I don't think we're doing that bad because then I just explained to him, lots of folks like you are calling in for support now. So thank you for your patience. But I actually felt pretty good about that. But we have a real nice team in there.
Right.
So I would say 5 minutes is probably on the high end of the typical wait.
Yeah, really.
But if you're used to calling in and literally a person answering the phone, we never used to even have the recording at the beginning when you called in. We had a person
pick up.
Her name was Sandy. She BMI Federal Credit Union. How can I help you? I mean, it was that level. Well, then you grow to a certain point. You have to have some kind of prompt. But it's amazing how quickly they can. They, like you said, they're problem solvers and having that resource.
And we get a lot of referrals into the financial education program from our contact center. So if a member is asking a lot of questions about a home buying, or they'll say, well, we've got a webinar coming up, or do you want to talk to someone?
Great.
And we have systems where they can put them in, or a member maybe is struggling with overdrafting their checking account a lot, and our contact center will say, maybe we might have someone that could help you if you spend some time with you. So it all kind of works together.
Wonderful.
All right. Well, with the move to online, there can be, more of an opportunity for someone to take information that they shouldn't be taking, stolen information and such like that. But they can happen even writing a check and such. Would you talk a little bit about how? First of all, I want to make sure that the listener understands if they think something's gone and that somebody's that their information's been stolen or their account's been compromised, that they do need to call and tell you. Don't be embarrassed. Don't be shy, because it has to be taken care of. And I think everything we've talked up to this point is that it makes it sound that you guys are very welcoming to these kind of calls.
Right.
Don't be ashamed. Don't be afraid. Can you talk a little bit about maybe some processes, or just what would happen if somebody calls and says, I think this is going on. Can you help me?
Well, and we do encourage our members, even if you're not sure, like maybe you think you lost your credit card.
Right.
Not that
Simple
it was
as
stolen.
that.
We're like, if there's any twinge of doubt, call us, because we can shut these things down temporarily. The technology is so much better now than when I started. We can shut a card down even temporarily and turn it back on. Actually, our members, if they have our app, can do it themselves. We have that
Wonderful.
now. But however, in the panic of that kind of thing, sometimes you forget about that. We're like, call us as soon as you can. I also encourage our members to make sure they have our customer service or our member service phone number in their phone already. So if you're getting an email or something that looks suspicious, you don't ever respond to the email. Call the number that you know is ours. That's another tool. And the faster you call us, the better. Even if it's something for very small change, we want to know, because we can close those cards down temporarily, reissue cards. We're very aggressive about that. Really, the most important thing for everyone is just keep an eye on your money. Keep an eye on those accounts. Right. If there's anything, gone are the days where you can wait for your statement to come and review it. Review it then. There are some people that still do that, and actually, you're actually protected for pretty good windows of time if it's debit card or credit card use. There's some consumer protections that the law has in there. But it's really about keeping an eye on things. And not, we do a workshop on identity theft, and we actually have a page on our website too, and our identity theft information center that is also, it's under the Financial Education Center, where and we built that in response to the panic of thinking something had been compromised. What do you do first? And it kind of lays it out for you. Call here, do this, file this, and helps walk the members through that. And actually, what I found out after we got that up was our employees were using it too. When members were coming in, it was a good go-to for our employees to make sure they didn't miss anything, supporting the members. Okay. I don't know if that's answering your question. The main thing is keep an eye on your money. Anybody that you owe money to, anybody that you're saving your money with, open those statements, open those emails, keep a good eye on them. And if you get any twinge of doubt, call in. And in the panic of the moment, our people will walk you through what to do too. So.
One of the comments that Sarah made earlier too is be careful when you're online and not at home. Yeah. When you're at Panera, that may not be the place to do financial transactions on your laptop.
Please don't.
Yeah. No public Wi-Fi, no airports. No airports.
Yeah.
But say you slipped up and panicked. You just got to keep an extra close eye on things. Right. And there is something out there where sometimes there's fraud with they'll just charge a little small amount, so you'll neglect, it's just a few dollars, I probably forgot. And then 3 months later, they've confirmed it's a real account. So we even want you to call us no matter what the amount is if you're not sure it
Good
belongs
point.
there.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Right.
And the
they'll
tools
send
are
those
there.
small dollar tests.
Yeah.
Right.
To try to see if it will go through, and then
Get you later.
get
And
ya.
and the other thing for our mature members is to be, for every member really, is be really careful about who you're sharing your credentials with. If you're giving someone your debit card to use, or you're letting someone help you with your online banking, we really have to have all that stuff on high alert because you're authorizing use of your accounts, and,
Right.
and that gets really tricky. But the solution isn't that hard. Change your password.
Right.
If you've done it, you know what I mean? Like, don't panic. Just change your password if you're worried. So, and very specific, if there's been something on your Visa that's fraudulent, we have a process where you file the dispute. And Visa, the majority of the time will make you right again. Same with your debit card. If there was something not right on your debit card, we make our members whole in the overwhelming majority of times. The most important thing for the member to know is don't wait a second. Stop
Right.
immediately and call us.
Right.
And that way we can limit losses and help you the most.
Well, and the amount of online transactions that we're all doing, the purchasing, and now with what you were recording this before the holidays, so now with the holidays coming up, we're all going to be really, really active online. And how many times do weird things pop up on your websites? You're like, oh, that's really cool. Maybe I should buy one of those for some so and so, and and suddenly you're way deep in bad weeds. So you just have to be really careful.
And generally speaking, with online banking, and there's some debate even at the credit union about this, I would prefer members to use their credit cards online and not their debit cards.
Right. Right.
There's more protections with credit cards, and if your debit card's compromised, your checking account gets emptied out. And we'll make you right again, but it can get complicated.
Oh,
Like
absolutely.
a bill that you have an auto pay hits and it overdraws even more. It just is much more complicated. Where if it's a credit card, you've got the power of the Visa credit card company behind you, and you're not out the money yet. So generally speaking, I think it's much safer to use a Visa, or I'm sorry, a credit card online than a debit card.
Right. Right. So my last question is for those of us who are older listeners, either getting ready to retire, in the middle of trying to retire, or into retirement. Any words of advice? Any kinds of things that you're helping those members do?
Well, I do have to clarify that financial coaching is not financial planning. We do not provide investment services or investment advice.
Right.
However, we do have members across the age span, and when our older members are having these concerns, oftentimes what our financial education program can support them with is, first off, I can send you some stuff on how to evaluate a financial planner that guides you on questions to ask if you're looking for one.
Right.
It's education. Secondly, will often talk about, well, where are you at in the process? We can help you, support you with doing your retirement budget. Like, have you taken the time to figure out what your monthly costs are going to be and what it's going to take to maintain your lifestyle or your new lifestyle you're trying, and just sitting down and doing a monthly budget. Like, gather up your bills. Let's sit down and see, what do you need every month? Do you know how to find out what your Social Security payment is? That's, again, it's in the realm of education. So let's just sit down and more than nuts and bolts. What does it cost you to live every month? And some people have a pretty good grip on that. Others really don't keep good track. And then the whole going on to Social Security's website now, you can get there's calculators to estimate what you're going to pay. I've seen that be a huge relief to a lot of members, because don't forget, you can do this starting at 62, and then we educate on, this isn't a Social Security webinar, but the later you wait, the higher payment.
Well,
help them figure out if they're eligible and what they're going to get, and that can help relieve them. And then that's part of your budget too, and work out those things. And also a lot of focus on, I think sometimes people forget, it's not just that you have a huge 401k, it's also what your budget is going to demand. And let's try to get that house paid off or that car paid off before you go part-time, wherever you're at, or before you retire. And people do forget about that. I had a friend that her kids were telling her, oh, you should lease your next car. It's awesome to lease.
Oh.
And then she called me and said, what do you think about leasing? And I was like, wait a minute. Didn't you tell me last call that you were thinking about retiring in 3 years? So if you buy a car, do you want a paid off car or close to paid off, or do you want a lease payment?
Right.
Like, just hadn't really thought that through. You do what's right for you, but that's kind of what our coaching is. Let's look at all the options and help you get the goal. And a lot, it's not always about, it's great if you have a huge retirement fund, but it's also really good to make sure you're going into those years with low debt. And that's really not just in retirement, it's really everywhere we want to get out of debt,
Right.
but particularly if when we're going to exit or back out of the income producing years, we want to make sure our payments are low or done with. So that's more along the lines that we can support
Wonderful.
folks with. But if you need advice on how to invest your 401k that you're going to roll over into IRAs, that we can't tell you how to invest it, but I do actually spend time explaining to people how that works. Like, what is an IRA as opposed to a 401k? Those kind of education is what we do in coaching. And then I have some really nice pieces from the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau that we share with members on, again, how to pick a financial planner. I really like this piece too. Give a lot of these out. These are from the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau and the FDIC on money smarts for older adults. We talked about scams.
We will put a link to that.
Large
It's probably
print.
it's probably online.
Well, it is through their website, but
Right.
these are actually
Right.
free. I just got a box of 30 of these. So if somebody would like that, we can, send it out to them, and I try to get them out to the branches.
Okay. If you think
different
about it,
pieces.
Nancy, send me the link, and we'll
Absolutely.
we can add that to our show notes.
And we have our identity theft action plan. That's our in-house piece. Where 10 things, like concrete things you can do to watch out for identity theft. And one of them is to have the phone number of all your financial providers in your phone already, things like that. And we can give you that. And as well as a link to where our webinars are posted and our online learning center and our financial coaching piece too.
One of the things, and this just sort of popped into my head, that because I don't have children, I've really tried to do a lot with my, who would be the executor of my estate, in making sure they know all of the stuff that I'm doing too. So I think that's an important message for older members of our audience, actually any member of our audience, is that somebody can track your financial situation if you get into a problem. It's not just having the power of attorney, but making sure whoever has that power of attorney has what they know, what they
we
need
do
to
have
know.
those passports. I still have a box of those. We have like it's called a passport piece where you can list all your accounts and where everything is. And the reason that it's actually very important, we were just talking about this, because it used to be when you passed away, the person who took care of your estate would just get your mail for a couple months.
Right.
And the bills would come in, the statements from your bank accounts would come in.
But now,
with most people having it online, it's been a little more complicated. So that is important. And it doesn't even have to be in a fancy piece, but that you have that listed somewhere and you've given it to a trusted person.
But as you were saying, change your password. You have to let people know you've changed your password.
True.
Be very protective of your online credentials, though.
Exactly.
Be super protective of them.
Yes.
And
Absolutely.
change them frequently. I know ours, we just had to do these really long ones. That's the latest, by the way, that it used to be like 8 and mixed characters. That apparently we have learned from our IT people, it's really better to just have a really long
have a passphrase.
Have a phrase, right?
Yeah, so we're making
we had that on
adjustment.
another podcast too.
We did, yes, yeah. So
talking
no
about
more
that same thing.
at symbols instead of A's.
Yes, exactly. And I thought it was acronyms, but it's not that. It's an actual phrase that no one else would
and
think to use.
spaces. Who would have known you could put spaces in your
Yeah.
passport? But we want our members to reach their financial goals, and we like to say we're going to support you with making your dreams come true. And if financial services and products are a part of that, like home loans and things like that. And we like to be a part of that, and we want us to make sure our members are educated in their choices and making
Wonderful.
the best choices for them. And we're real proud of that at the credit union. So thank you.
That was a great
today.
summary of all of the.
I guess so. Yeah, exactly. Took the words right out of my mouth.
Exactly.
Right there. And as we talked about, we'll have all the resources and things we're talking about here in the podcast show notes. And actually, maybe a couple of call to action, some things that Nancy brought up. We'll ask our listeners if they're interested. I'll get an email in the podcast show notes on how to get them and contact you. We won't give the phone number because we don't want you anybody texting you for this information.
Right.
But
and what I'm doing is interesting too with the pivot to virtual. Like I connect well with members over the phone or the folks that are coming in for the financial coaching. It's working, and we have Zoom is available. We're set up where we can use Zoom, but most people are saying let's just do the phone call. But I'm also putting things in the mail. because it is, if a member wants this like Money Smart for older adults, I'll say, do you want the digital version? But I could send you the book. And our more mature members kind of prefer to actually have their hands on. And it's other folks do too. But I go in about once a week and I have little booklets about how to save, how to understand your credit. Kind of was a collector of that information pre-pandemic. I got loads of that content. And if we do a workshop on credit, we'll ask the folks, if you'd like us to send you this booklet, we can do that. And, you always get a few that want it. So I actually have my schedule. I go in once a week and I do a little bit of mailing out of content to people. Nice. But it's also another way to be present and support them where they're at. Maybe they don't want to read it online. Maybe they want to have it in their hands.
Even younger folks, we're all tired of being online.
Yes.
Exactly. So,
absolutely.
Thank you so much, both of you. It was good to see you.
Good to see you too.
And thank you so much for being with us today and all of your time and expertise.
Okay, thanks for having us.
Thank you.